Hello and welcome. This is Business Day TV. I am Kemi Michael. Now, stop motion has been an age-old form of animation, and in Nigeria, it has been very unpopular. And I know you're wondering what stop motion animation is. Well, wonder no more. I have Esther Kemi Badamosi, CEO of Radio City, right here with me.
All right.
Good
Thank you
afternoon.
very much. Yeah,
Welcome.
good afternoon. Thank you.
God help me now, help your boy now. I dey try now. Because this also no be pure water.
So tell me, what is stop motion animation?
Stop motion animation is the movement of physical objects, in time. That's unlike 2D and 3D, that's done in the digital space, on your PC. Stop motion is done physically. That means you move a physical object, but you move it frame by frame, in the space of time. So in practical, you take your camera and then you take one shot at a time, So if you have to move your hands from here to here, you just move it in bits and then, take this and take the shot, take this and take the shot and take the shot. And then the eyes, the illusion of movement just occurs when you put all the frames together. So it has a sequence. The sequence of frames causes there to be movement. So you do this, in creating a story, obviously you have lots of movements. And so, that's all that you put together. So you have lots of shots, to make up scenes and then, of course, to make up a film.
That sounds really exhausting.
Well, yeah.
But why did you choose stop motion? I mean, you could have used, as you said, the 2D and 3D tools on the internet right now. Why not use those? Why stop motion?
I'm not sure I found stop motion. I think stop motion found me.
Okay.
I used to be a 3D animator. I was a 3D animator for about 8 years. Then I got married, had kids, and then I couldn't cope with 3D anymore. And then, at the point where I was really trying to figure out what I needed to do, I started, posing their toys, the children's toys. And, I had this Spider-Man that I would, have the Spider-Man poses kind of thing. And because I liked the poses so much, I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll do another one, then take a picture of it, that kind of thing. And, when I put the sequences together, there was interesting movements. And after that, I worked on short sequences, basketball sequences, all of that. And they were quite interesting, until 2019. This was 10 years ago, this year, and 2019, I decided, okay, let's work on something, just something very short, about a minute long. It was just some sort of mannequin we used. And we just told this story, simple story of the past situation in Nigeria. When we were done, we submitted it to festivals, and here was different festivals, all over the world. And we're like, whoa, it was just about a minute, and that was it. It was like, we can do something better than this, let's do something else. And so that's how we made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 films so far, like that. So it's essentially stop motion finding me. I'm not sure I found it because at the point I started it, I didn't even know what the name was, but it seemed like something I could use to express myself. I could tell my stories. I had done documentaries in the past, so I wasn't new to filmmaking. I had made short films. I'd won awards doing documentaries. So we're doing it on a sort of big scale. But then, this was animation, which was something that was really dear to me. It was kind of like a side thing. I think it was a side thing till COVID. COVID was what made it become up and center for me. It's suddenly becoming something that was way beyond, our local space, and going international, has been something that has come some sort of a surprise. But then, yes, I love the process. So, yeah.
I see that you were made fellow at the Berlin Ale.
Yes,
Please tell us
Biennale.
more about that.
Oh, okay. Last year, for the first time, Biennale, what they do is every year, being one of the biggest festivals in the world. After Sundance, Cannes, you have sort of like Biennale, and they pick 200 filmmakers every year. So for the past 22 years, they have picked 200. And so usually you have maybe 1, 2 Nigerians, sometimes 3. that filmmakers that are, very high profile ones, that they pick. But last year, for the first time in animation, they picked me,
That's beautiful.
as a Benali talent. So I was in Berlin last year, and it was sort of like out of this world experience, for someone who was even for Benali, it's a film festival, a film festival that has almost 500,000 registered, attendance. So it's huge, so even for them, animation is a little bit not their usual thing, but having to bring in someone from animation, I really needed to find my feet there. Among the talents, I think we were just probably around 5 of us, that were from animation, and so we really just had to find ways to connect, and which was fantastic, for all the other things as well. And so what that did was it gave me the opportunity to be able to apply last year, towards the end of last year, for fellowship. Now, what happens is that of the 10,000, there are about 10,000 talents now, because it's been over 22 years of picking 200 people. So they have the opportunity to apply for fellowship. You understand? It's a partnership between Benali Talent and MasterCard. So now, if you have a project that you want to push, you just needed to apply for it, and they picked only 2 people. So it was crazy that, so I applied. I'm not sure I was thinking they would pick, but as far as I was concerned, they can only pick if you apply. If you don't, your chances are 0. And so I applied. I was really shocked, in January when I saw congratulations. You have been said. I was like, did they pick many people? Because that was my first thought. Maybe they picked many people this time. Only to find out that we're just 2 that they picked. It was very humbling experience. Because it took things to another level completely.
Yeah.
For someone in stop motion, completely unknown field. In Nigeria, even internationally. There's a fight for us to be able to have space. When Pinocchio won Best Animation last year, it was a big deal for us, considering there's a stop motion animated film, and so it's everything we get. It's huge. And so when Benali gave us that, focus front and center, it's that was all that was in my head, that look, this is a big deal for us.
Kind of is.
Yes, it is. It is a big deal because it gave us the opportunity to have conversations, with lots of people that were really interested in seeing Africa, because stop motion is also not so big in Africa. Seeing Africa develop in this light. Because to be honest with you, I think that stop motion is the perfect medium for us in Africa. Why do I think so? Because we don't have too much equipment, and all of that tech thing. Stop motion doesn't require so much. You don't need to have a high-end PC to do stop motion. All you need to do is to have that creative ability. You need to be artistic. You need to be able to sculpt. Because at some point we started making our puppets. We didn't have to use the objects we were using at first. I think we did that in our first 3 films. By the time we got to the 4th one, we made our puppets from scratch. So virtually everything you see was made, artistically like that. And so, for us, us having that opportunity, I think it will open the eyes of a lot of young people that probably maybe went to Yaba Tech. You understand? They can draw, they can paint. You understand? Stop motion is just the movement of what they are doing. You're already, just moving it. It requires a lot of patience, but patience is free. You understand? It's not something that you need 500k to buy patience. You understand? It's just something you really need to sort of discipline yourself to do, and somehow that's really essentially what we've done. You just need to be patient with it, bit by bit. And as we make each film is better than the previous one because our skills are improving.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, and then of course with more exposure, having the opportunities to go to different festivals, different studios. I've been to some of the biggest studios, worldwide for stop motion animation. It's just because it's a field that we are not too many. You understand? So quite a bit of opportunities also in that light. And so yeah, it's something really exciting for us, and yeah, we actually look forward to pushing it even more.
Now, speaking about being unpopular, I'm talking about stop motion being unpopular here in Nigeria and Africa at large. How exactly did it feel when you started, seeing as you did not have anybody to show you the ropes in doing it?
Okay, well, in the beginning, it didn't make sense. I think that was our first goal. It didn't make sense to people around us. It didn't make sense to, friends or whoever it is that saw that that's what we did. So yeah, in the beginning, it was kind of like, it almost felt embarrassing sometimes, when you're dealing with objects and just trying to move them around and people not understanding what exactly this is and all. Yes, so yeah, we experienced a lot of difficulty. You could imagine that we had zero support. Yeah, but I think that seeing that, I knew that if we could make it make sense, we'd have an opportunity. I knew that I didn't have all the skills at the time when I started, so there was no way I could instantly prove that it was a viable means of making films. Not that animation is film, so people needed to see the film capacity in it, and it was going to take a while for us to be able to do that. From first film to second to third, I think when we won our first Best Animation Award, it clicked to people that, you understand, this stuff might actually be making sense. And then we got a nominations in Afrif, AMA, all of the major festivals, in Africa and all. So it was okay. Wow. Okay, yes. So this might make sense actually. So it's being able to, we've been to all of the major labs, DLA, DFM, CTIAF. When Nigeria was going to MIFA, that's 2 years ago now, and that's the biggest animation festival in the world, and we wanted to pick our project one, overall. So it's just been, so it's been a journey of trying to also prove, that this is viable, and so yeah, we did keep our expectations low, and I think that helped. Us to be patient enough to just ensure that we just continue to work. It was hard. It was always hard to have resources to be able to make the films, but we tried to find a lot of things that were available locally, things we could find. Yes, there's some things we couldn't do without importing, but they weren't the very expensive stuff. We just tried to make it was more like use what you have to get what you want. If we knew we couldn't do something big, so we just do the small bit of it just to ensure that we show up, that kind of thing, instead of just complaining that we don't have support, we don't have this, we don't have. When people see what you have already done, you understand, it speaks louder than when you complain about what your situation is. And I think that essentially has been, what it was, from that time where, it didn't make sense to now that it's making a bit more sense.
Okay, now I understand that a lot of people do not know about this, and if you've seen as you've gone through a lot of challenges to get here, would you advise people to get into it?
I would gladly do. I feel that we're just scratching the surface right now. It's this huge opportunity, not just in stop motion, in animation. Animation also is still small here. Yeah. And statistics, global research has shown that in the next few years, this might be the biggest, this part might produce the biggest animations in the world, say in about 20-30 years. So you can imagine the process there. Nollywood has not become what it is in one day. It took a few years for us to go to cinema and then want to watch Nollywood films. At first, we would all go and watch Avengers, that kind of thing, or Black Panther. And then now, you would go there and you would happily watch Nollywood films. So it was that journey. And that's essentially the journey animation is going through now. We may say that it's not the most viable, but this is what our children watch at home. You understand? And all of that. So naturally, it will grow. And the world knows that. And everybody's sort of like trending towards Africa. Disney just produced their first African, set of films to show that, yeah, Africa does need to be represented on the global stage with our stories. So everything is kind of like trending towards Africa. So right now, positioning is key.
Yeah, we have to tell our own stories ourselves.
If we don't tell our stories ourselves, they will tell it for us. Naturally, that's what will happen. So people need to, artists, people that already have this flair, need to position themselves now. And it may not look very favorable. It may not look, because, you don't have all the attraction and nobody's shouting your name or your work or anything like that. You really have to sow the seeds, and I think it's a good time to come in, before the highlights come, so that you'd be in a good position to be, people will say, oh, okay, yeah, we want to give an opportunity to a studio. We want to give an opportunity to people to be able to produce, African stories and all of that. And then, they're not going to go to somebody's house and go and say, okay, yeah, we figured out that you might be the person. No, you need to be there already. And I think I'd gladly, because I hear people say a lot that stop motion it's hard, it's difficult and all of that, but it is possible. It is possible. I never really had that thought about it being difficult. I was always so excited, to be able to work on a project, and because I knew that, and I didn't need so much to start. I just, as I get funds, I put in, from other things I do. But then the whole idea is that I start with the aim of finishing. Sometimes it takes a long time. I remember a particular one of the films I worked on, because most of that film was me. I animated the entire thing from beginning to the end. And I remember that while working, I had a group of people that were supposed to work with me throughout the film, and after a while they kind of got frustrated. It was taking too long. It was a really short film. You said, but we did it in 7 weeks, just production. Every day. I remember that I would be there first thing in the morning and out there till late in the evening, animating. Some days that are really good, I probably have maybe like 2 seconds, or 3 seconds of animation that worked. And the days that are bad, I have 0. Because while I was animating, the character fell. And then I have to start all over again, that kind of thing. Because, once the shift movement is a lot, I can't find that spot anymore. So if to make sure that the quality is good, I have to start all over again, that kind of thing. So yes, it was there, but then when I think about it now, with the benefit of hindsight, I see that it was worth it. For you to start, it's not heavy on costs. I think it will really be a good opportunity, particularly people that already have the natural talent. Yeah.
All right, that's beautiful. Now, what are you doing towards helping the stop motion animation industry when it comes to bringing up people to learn it?
That's probably, the biggest thing that we're doing right now. Because the truth is that for us to move to the next level, there definitely needs to be a lot more people involved in stop motion. We obviously not stopping with short films. We want to do series for children. We want to have more children content, in stop motion. Stop motion is perfect for preschoolers. Most of our preschoolers watch, content from the US, from the UK and all of that. You don't have too many African stories, there. And so we want to be able to do that. We also want to work on a feature film at least, And so we figured out that we need more hands. It can't just be us, all of us, being self-taught and all. And so we figured out that we needed to work on a school. And that's the Radio City Stop Motion Animation Academy, just for stop motion. And so we would be bringing global experts, people from, some of the bigger studios that have done really successful stop motion animated films to come and teach, our local talent, which we have quite a bit. That's one of the things that makes me so excited. The fact that we have people that when I see their talent, I'm like, my own talent is learning work here. This is raw. This person was born with it. The person doesn't have exposure to the skill, to the training, professional training that can actually harness that talent to be able to do this stuff And so what we want to do is to bring global experts to talents, and with that, would have the opportunity to be able to make more films because there are more hands, that kind of thing. And we can be part of something historic, in that sense. Because for us to be able to produce a good, high quality, very good story as well, animated film, from Africa, stop motion animated film, that would be something.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that there are different types of stop motion animation.
Yes.
Because while growing up, at least I was exposed to little of it, but I didn't know that was the name then. There was the one with puppets. There was the one where we had to mold with clay and then move the pieces around. We didn't know it was stop motion, but we just knew we're acting drama, more like. So what type do you use? Is it all of it? What type do you teach as well?
Well, the type I use, most now would be puppetry. That's molding the puppets, creating them using silicone and aluminium. So we use aluminium for the core, that's the bones, because it's a dead metal, and then we use silicone. It's very flexible. We cast it over it. So we start with clay to create the original mold. We're trying to sort of transit to 3D printing, but yes, once we create that and we have the silicone on top, it becomes animatable. So we use puppets. Now we are exploring other mediums like wood, and paper. But at the moment, puppetry. Puppetry.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Lego is a stop animation.
Yeah. Yes, it's also a medium at which stop motion animation is made.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there was a point I did consider using Lego, but it was at that point. This is way back now. Says maybe some 8 years ago or something. It was very expensive for me to invest in Lego. Yes, till now I still have quite a bit of Lego, but it wasn't enough to start what I wanted to do and all of that. So so the Lego thing died there. And then also there was also the fact that I wanted something original. I didn't feel that Legos quite represented
the African story.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that just explains it. It didn't quite. I need something that was really organic. I'm excited when time we want to make a film and we go out into the bush and we're trying to find jungle elements that are in very small scale. There was a point we were looking for very dry grass because we're trying to create, the northern, we're trying to do something on terrorism and all of that. So we wanted to create that northern landscape. Like that. And so we knew that the grasses were very dry, but it was very hard to find here. So before we found some really dry grass, it took a while, but we found it somewhere. The people there were wondering why we were using scissors to carefully, this is, we're carefully cutting it so that we retained the integrity of the grass and the formation and all of that. And they were wondering because the way we were cutting it looked like something of value. So they now came and they were like, no, we'll pay. Okay, we said no problem. They should come and if we are going to pay for it, then they should help us cut it. Yes, they were not ready to do that. So they just left us because obviously it was useless to them, but then it didn't cost us anything to get that grass. Perhaps just our time and the effort because it took us quite a number of hours to cut it bit by bit, but it was very good grass. Till today, we are really proud. This is some years back, of that grass that we got like that. So it's essentially getting those elements that represent us, and we also had this thatched roof we wanted to do, and so we had to get hay for the like village huts kind of thing, and of course to get clay for the huts, all of that. Those are our own things, it's not really like Lego.
Yeah, not at all. Lego is like plastic.
Lego is plastic, So those are the things that. So we want to continue to explore that and push those very organic things that represent who we are and our culture, over and above, trying to just find things that look good. like that, but don't quite represent, because eventually it's cultural. It's us pushing our stories, pushing who we are, not just to us, because sometimes we may not fully appreciate who we are because we see it all the time. But to a more international audience, it's also interesting for us. It was interesting for us to see that, we could get, or we had international interest, much more than we did have local.
National, yes, true. What has the acceptance of stop motion animation in Nigeria been like?
Okay, well, it started really slowly. It's in the beginning, particularly in the very first festivals locally that we screened our short films. It was them trying to figure out what kind of animation is this and all. And yeah, at the end of the film is really about the story. It's not necessarily about the medium, and so I believe very strongly that, as we perfect the art, because so far so good, we've been more at festivals, we've not been, we've had quite a number of screenings. Last year we had quite a number of invitations in Lagos to screen, at different events for our films. And yes, the reception, lest I jump that, the reception was good. It's a very hopeful impression you get that, wants to make you do more, that kind of thing. But I see it's more in a futuristic thing, that as we perfect, the art in itself, because we are still in that process, we're not there yet, as we perfect the art in itself, and, we have the opportunities to be able to tell even better stories, people would love it, because stop motion and Africa, I think it's a match made already. That kind of thing. It's just for us to be able to come full circle with our discovery, of it, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm very sure of that, the fact that, it's, as long as we are unrelenting, yes, the reception would definitely pick up, significantly.
All right, thank you very, very much. I think we have come to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for coming, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. I just finished speaking with Esther Kemi Badamosi, CEO of Radio City. Don't forget to follow Business Day on all social media platforms. And of course, like, share, and subscribe.
Okay.